Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fierros with Tri-City Equity Group. Today, I'm excited. We've got Tyler Vinson on the show. So Tyler is the CEO of RE Tokens, an innovative real estate tokenization platform and digital ETFs designed to transform the way people access liquidity and invest in real estate. RE Tokens stands out as a groundbreaking solution. RE Tokens is currently putting tokenized real estate on the blockchain and providing an industry best capital raising platform for tokenized real estate projects. The secondary market or digital ETF is set to launch in late June 2025, guys. And so we're in that month now. We'll hit up Tyler here. Oh, actually, we're at the beginning when we're recording this, the beginning of July. So we're going to ask him here shortly if there's any updates, if he's got into that. And excited to have him on the show because this is kind of, again, this is an emerging space within our industry. And so excited to have somebody on the cutting edge of tools available and who's working in this space. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Steve, thanks for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely, guys. Thanks for hopping on. And I'm sure we're going to provide our conversation, hopefully, is informative for all of our listeners that are tuning in and really to talk about the future of real estate and how tokenization is going to play into all of that. But kind of before we dive into that, I know you've had some really high-level positions and kind of you fill us in a little bit on your background. This is obviously a nascent kind of emerging space. I don't imagine you were dreaming about this when you were coming up in elementary school. Oh, yes, tokenization. Right. I don't know. Maybe the Legos were the favorite thing. And
yeah.
But no, give us your background. For those of us that may not be familiar with you and or those of our listeners, fill us in. Give us a little bit of your story.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, professional background for the last 24 years or so has been investment real estate. That's all I've done as a career, like I said, since 2002, right in there. And that's how I got into tokenization. But yeah, I just started with a very similar way to a lot of folks. My best friend came home from college. I was selling sport boats, motor cruisers at the time, selling boats. And he said that, hey, a couple of my buddies are looking at buying apartments. That's what they want to do. I said, well, that sounds pretty cool. We went out to an education deal. I'm really big on education, but back then there was like only three: Russ Whitney, Carlton Sheets, Robert Allen. And so we went to one of those, and unfortunately it wasn't a very good one, but it led to us just saying, well, let's just go do this. Let's just go buy some. And so we went out and started by buying a couple of duplexes, and I fell in love with the sport and quit my job and went full-time into investment real estate. That led to starting my own. When I went full time, I got my license. So a few years after, I started my own small investment brokerage and property management company and kind of a lot of the traditional stuff with a focus on investment real estate and working with investors. And then later, we still own those entities or the brokerage entity today, but I don't do any brokerage activity. I've been just full time investment real estate for I don't know, maybe 15 years or so.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And again, that's a lot of our listeners as well. We're all about real estate, but any way we can help investors and operators work in the space. And again, however we can find efficiencies, we want to do that. So now you've been around, if you've been in the space for 25 years, you've seen a lot of change. That's already a couple of market cycles. I always enjoy talking to people who have been in the business for a while. I mean, I started probably 20 years ago myself. Before the GFC and all of that. And so this last little stretch has been kind of a wake-up call for people that just got in 5-6 years ago thinking, man, this is amazing. Everything is going to work this way forever. You and I both know that's not always the case. Now, I am curious. Now, you've had your hand in like investing in property management, obviously running companies. How do you kind of narrow the focus? Now, obviously, this is what you're working on now, also still entrepreneur, still working in real estate, but you're kind of working a different angle at this point. Is this something that you just saw kind of a need in the space? Like how did you get even introduced to what you're working now with RE Tokens?
Yeah. So I think early on in my investment career, that was something I had to learn, is to narrow my focus to certain type of asset classes. So for the new investors out there, don't try to do industrial, multifamily, single family flips, office all at once. Pick your favorite, master that, and look to expand from there. But one common denominator across my investment was creative finance and deal structure, lots of seller finance, lots of private financing, private investors, private equity deals, and things like that. So yeah, today multifamily is a specialty, but also storage facilities, and I've done office and retail and all of those things I just said not to do. But that really has been it. So there's two sides of I'll use the word token, pun intended, that really got me to go all in on real estate tokenization, which is really by far my top focus today. One of those was simply the fact that as a professional real estate investor, you often have a lot of money tied up. You may have millions of dollars in equity on paper, but if you needed a couple $100,000 for an investment, or all I do is investment real estate, so it's lifestyle for me as well, all those things, the only way traditionally to access that equity has been to either sell the asset in total and get rid of it, or do a cash out refi, which may or may not be an advantageous time. And as always seems to be a heck of an obstacle course getting through at a minimum. And it's illiquid. Real estate is illiquid, or has been. And so that problem right there has been one that I think a lot of professional investors wrestle with. And it was certainly one that continued to frustrate me. Another one, if you bear with me just for a short story, I was coaching my daughter's soccer. I have always, you said, are you daydreaming about this? One thing I've daydreamed for a long time is to really level the investment playing field, to be able to get more people involved. Because I know when I got started, it was very difficult and there was no congruency. The real estate attorney would say one thing, the CPA would say another, the lender said, you're crazy, you're not getting a loan in an LLC, and all these. So you really had to navigate it. But anyway, back to the soccer piece. I was coming off coaching my daughter's soccer. I had a great friend from high school run up to me. Oh, Tyler, good to see you. So lots of hugs and stuff like that. And she says, it's been really cool watching what you've done in real estate and the success that you've had. And me and my husband, we've been working really hard and we've been saving up, and we would love to invest with you. We just kind of looked at each other, and then she answered and she said, but we don't have enough money, do we? And two things. Number one, it was true, because at the time I was just doing syndication and 50,000 minimum. You had to be an accredited investor, and I don't know what they had, but I know they weren't meeting those things. And the second piece is that broke my heart, and that was wrong. Right about that time, I got introduced to the blockchain, and I was actually president of our local NARPM chapter, which is National Association of Residential Property Managers. And the former president was talking to me about a project that he was working on blockchain. And the whole world came rushing in front of me. And to me, it was like, okay, I love creative finance. I love deal structure. I want to get a lot of people involved. Real estate's illiquid. This is the future that I've been dreaming about, where real estate, fractions of real estate, can trade just like stocks, or more recently crypto, which hasn't existed for real estate. And with her wanting to get involved and me having trapped equity, and it was like, there's so many barriers to try to make that happen. And so it was really that moment that I decided, I've had great success in real estate investment. I want to go all in on this tokenization and see if this is that vehicle to bring to the world that can really open up and allow school teachers, firefighters, and the server at your favorite restaurant to get involved in these real estate deals. And so that's really how it all got going for me in tokenization.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, Ed. And thank you for sharing that story, because unfortunately it is a common thing for those of us that may be, okay, hey, we're investing through a variety of different means. The beauty of real estate is there's a million and one different ways to monetize. But just as you said, a lot of people, and I've heard that story countless times too, where it's like, oh, I see what you guys have done. That's amazing. I love what it's able to afford you guys. You spending the family time, right? Opens up doors and maybe not otherwise available, but I don't have the resources. And to your point there, it is resource intensive, and we all do need to start. And I'd love to be able to give a heads up, but a leg up for people wanting to enter in the space. But you're 100% correct, where it's like, yeah, there's a higher barrier to entry. And for those, a teacher or somebody, yeah, hey, I would love to invest, but I just don't have it. And so it's like, man, I love that your entrepreneur mind go to work. Okay, there's a problem to solve. How do we solve it? And now that's the beauty of technology now is, wow, we have new ways to solve problems that have existed for a long time. So yeah, I'm excited that you guys are working on things like this in the space that do provide an additional on-ramp for wealth building. And we need it now more than ever. I mean, so much money has been printed, so much capital has been infused into the system. It's like, hey, you guys need a life raft. Okay, well, how can we help to get you the life raft? So,
Yeah.
well, so tell me about the tokenization piece, and let's kind of dwell there just for a little bit for those that kind of are not tracking maybe that, hey, you know what, Steve, Tyler, I'm used to fix and flip, and I'm used to kind of just working in that traditional space. I get that. I've owned a house, I run it maybe long term. Like, what is this tokenization piece? Like, how does this factor into any of it? I'm not tracking with you guys.
Yeah, so let's just start by simplifying the definition of tokenization and what the heck is it. So those of you that have raised capital through syndication or even partnerships, what you do is you normally have an entity like an LLC, and you sell a percentage of that. In the syndication world, we're selling LLC membership units, or you can call them shares like a stock, or even in partnerships, it's a percentage of ownership. It's really the same thing. So tokenization is simply making that ownership, so those LLC units or shares, if you will, making those digital and putting them on the blockchain. So I think a mistake people get is they get so caught up in the technology or blockchain and what is this, and they lose the point of what we're doing, because fundamentally underneath, it's still real estate investment. These are still real estate deals. We're just enhancing them with the technology that's available. It's kind of like the cell phone, right? We just want to know what it will do. We want to know that we can FaceTime somebody on the other side of the world instantly, and it's going to work, and sign into the internet and do all that. To require to understand how the signal shot up to the satellite and that satellite sent back down. That's the equivalent of getting into, I think, a lot of the blockchain and technology. Another analogy would be like, okay, how does the internet actually work? Well, do you care, or do you just want to know what you can do on the internet? And so that's how we approach it. We can certainly geek out and get into some of the tech stuff, but in its most simple form, it's just making that ownership digital. And then we put it on the blockchain because it has features like being immutable, which is like prevents fraud and has permanent records and just creates transparency. And that digital ownership makes it much, much easier to buy, sell, and trade. And that's why real estate is about to trade just like stocks and crypto do, because it has this digital ownership component, which has allowed us to develop a marketplace.
No, I'm tracking. So just kind of high level for those of you guys that are maybe kind of having a hard time conceptually, just think of, okay, hey, I've got a giant pizza and we're just going to chop it up. And instead of it being 10 slices, whatever kind of typically it'd be, it's literally maybe 100 little pieces. And now you can chunk down what used to be, all right, well, hey, I don't want a whole pizza. Okay, totally fine. Hey, you know what? I want 5 of these little squares out of 100. And it basically just allows like for fractional ownership, like these tiny little pieces. And then the security component is the recordation on the blockchain, which provides really, really high level of transparency, security. And so this is bringing the technology component, really kind of modernizing traditional real estate. Now, my next question would be, who is this? Who would this be for? Is this anybody that's working in the space? Does this only work for, okay, hey, we're putting together a larger deal acquisition, a commercial asset or something along those lines? Could this work for somebody who's working in the residential space? Is this an ideal fit for everybody? Or is it like kind of a better fit maybe for people working in certain spaces?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to separate it into two, one of them being investors and the other ones being sponsors or syndicators, those types of folks. So let's dive into that part because it's got a few more layers to it. So really all real estate will be tokenized in the future. And there's some different channels to kind of go through that. Normally what we're dealing with right now is the syndication world where there's securities. It's where people, so the three primary reasons people tokenize their real estate is number one, a superior way to capital raise and get more exposure for their offering. So now instead of just exposing it to whoever's in their network and whatever promotion they do, they can actually put it into a marketplace, a global marketplace where people can go through and kind of self-access, self-serve. And you alluded to in the beginning, so a bit of a teaser, now as a broker-dealer, we can actually facilitate funding into those deals. But there's 24/7 access to invest in these deals online. Now, a lot of there's in securities, there's you either register it with the SEC, right? Like an IPO stock, or you find an exemption to registration. And we'll just use an exemption called Reg D 506C, which is a lot of what syndicators and capital raisers do. That's primarily on the primary market, what we're working with. So the fact of being able to go through something called KYC and accreditation and invest in the deal and review the documents and sign the documents, fund it, and custody everything is all in our platform, all in one marketplace, 24/7, 365. So it gives that global exposure that they otherwise wouldn't have. So the second reason is to unlock equity. So as we know, real estate's illiquid. Normally, if you're what we call an LP that's going to invest into these real estate deals, you're stuck in that deal. I mean, maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 7, 10 years. Sometimes I've heard 20, right? You just don't know. And the whole thing's illiquid. Well, now with a secondary marketplace in that digital ownership, after a 12-month lockup period, you can actually resell those. And get this, after the 12 months and on the secondary marketplace, you can sell them to non-accredited investors around the world. And so not only can the GPs unlock liquidity, because normally as a GP, our big payday comes either selling the asset or doing a cash out refi. And not only our payday, but that's normally how our investors get their profits, our LPs. And they're normally stuck in the deal and they can't do anything. Well, now both GPs and LPs after 12 months can sell those to other non-accredited investors. This also works great for estate planning or getting your kids involved or your employees or however you want to disperse those, because they're digital tokens. And so it is much easier to unlock the equity that you have and creates liquidity for the real estate. So that's a big one. And then the third reason is it adds automation and efficiency to what we're doing. So the marketplace and the technology we have is putting this all together behind the scenes. We can go into how that works if you want, but all you really need to know is with a few clicks of the button, people will be able to invest, you'll be able to sell, you'll be able to move that ownership around, and the blockchain keeps that record in real time. So everybody knows, what's going on. It helps with valuations, eliminates fraud and those types of things. So deal exposure for capital raising, unlocking equity in current real estate investment deals, and streamlining efficiency to really scale your real estate investment brand and business.
Yeah, no, this is such an amazing concept because, again, I don't think for those that are kind of, I don't want to say on the outside looking in, but they just don't have exposure kind of to this space. Guys, that is really game changing. I mean, the fact that you could invest into a deal, let's say on the secondary market and for non-accredited, that's huge. Guys, you really don't understand. Like this is what institutional capital can invest in. And now you get to kind of share in the same. And if you didn't have if you did not have the net worth, you didn't meet kind of the income and the net worth requirements, let's say to get in on the upfront, you can still get into the deal. Hey, you know what? I don't have the 50 grand, just kind of like Tyler mentioned earlier, like his soccer friend or the parent. It's like, okay, well, what do you have to invest? Do you have 5,000? Can you do something like that? Well, hey, why don't we just pop onto the marketplace and you can take a look to see, okay, well, what could I do? And now you've got exposure to probably deals across, I'm guessing the US, just across the country. And that could also be exciting too, because that also unlocks diversity, let's say within an investor's portfolio, and say, hey, well, I don't typically invest outside of my own market, but I'm willing to take kind of a flyer on putting a few bucks into, oh, I heard that market's going to be good. Hey, Florida, man, I really wanted to do something in Florida. Hey, it looks like there's some deals on the marketplace. Now I can take a little chunk out of, instead of doing one deal, hey, I can invest into maybe 5 and get a little broader exposure on that secondary marketplace. So I think that that on-ramp is super key. And then of course on the operator side, being able to have a broader base that you can market to, that's huge. Because again, guys, if you're trying to invest in, let's say, one of the deals that we put together, again, we have a minimum size. We've got a minimum investment size, just exactly to Tyler's point. And it's like, well, there's plenty of times where I'd love to help you. I would love to be able to provide an on-ramp for you, but my hands are tied. I just can't. But hey, now we do have an opportunity for you to be able to do that. So I love that. I love the innovation that you guys are bringing to the space, and congrats for getting the approval, because it's going to be life changing for people that are wanting to get into the space. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, I just comment on your point on those investments too. Is yeah, you just said it, and this is one of the first public announcements because it just happened for us. We did get the federal FINRA approval, so we'll be the first SEC regulated marketplace that's exclusive for real estate tokens. And what that means for investors is all of the investment opportunities listed on there are certified by a registered broker dealer, meaning they're vetted. We check the ownership, the validity, the financials to make sure that what's being advertised as the investment is all, true. And that's a big part of our licensing requirement because it is about protecting the investor. So yeah, it's an absolute win-win because it becomes easier to have people invest into your deal when you can say, yeah, this is broker dealer certified. It's on this regulated platform, and investors can feel comfortable coming in there knowing that it has third-party validation as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we know that there's a lot of capital in the system right now that's still looking for a home. And again, I just love the broader exposure that something like you guys' platform is going to be able to provide for them. It's like, well,
yeah, it's global. Shoot. It's global.
Oh yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah. On the secondary market, well, and on the primary, the main hurdle on the primary is simply accreditation. But any accredited investor that makes it through KYC can't be on the terrorist list, the anti-money laundering list. There's a few countries that it's not going to work, but you can just go through that process on platform. And on the secondary marketplace, so like one of your projects, if you guys tokenized it, either you and your investors wanted to sell, which by the way, there's a win-win delta there that we could talk about due to that illiquidity discount. But that can be anyone around the world that makes it through KYC AML. And KYC is not a financial restriction. It's simply an identity verification. AML, anti-money laundering. We're just going to make sure you're not a terrorist, blacklisted, or what have you. So yeah, when you talk about scaling your brand, you're talking about being able to scale it globally.
Oh yeah. I mean, because for those are the syndicators, again, you put in a lot of work, let's say, trying to kind of build up your network and kind of, okay, whatever we can do to kind of get people exposure, investors exposure to the deal flow. But if you're able to tap into the global marketplace, that's huge, right? Your total addressable market just went from this to, oh my goodness, to that. That makes funding your deals so much faster. And okay, hey, there's capital waiting ready to go. You can be a lot more aggressive and going after deals, because a lot of times, like for people working in the space, hey, okay, how big's my network? All right, what do we think we can raise? How much capital can we put together? These are all questions that people that are working in the space would ask themselves. Can we realistically go take down a deal of X size because we know we've got that liquidity? But something like what your platform is able to provide, awesome. Well, we know the liquidity is out there. We just got to get the deal in front of them. If it's a solid deal and it works, Tyler and his team has vetted us as operators. Awesome, you're good to go, right? And yeah. Oh, I love it. It's super cool. Well, where do you see, obviously you guys are just getting your green light over there to kind of move forward now into the space. So much is changing now in the marketplace. Like if you had your crystal ball out, like where do you see the industry going in, let's say, in the next 5 years, right? Just out of curiosity, maybe kind of an aside from just because you're working in the technology space, I'd be genuinely curious to kind of get your take on where real estate is heading. Obviously, we're going to see more of this. We're going to see more tokenization. We're going to see more adoption broadly. But what do you see kind of as any future trends?
Yeah, I mean, there's various numbers and reports out there, but within the next 5 years, there'll be over 4 trillion of real estate tokenized. And so as an asset class, there's unbelievable opportunity. I think some of the cool things in my mind coming down the pipeline is where we will have some market making. So when so you have instant settlement when you're buying and selling. Right now, there's not market makers in the space. So you've got to put your tokens up and the buyer's got to buy them. It's a buyer seller match. But I think within the next 12 months, whether that's through liquidity pools or different funds that are doing market making, that'll happen. Another really exciting thing is leverage using the real estate security tokens themselves. So leverage is a big part of real estate. We all know that. And normally everybody has to play ball, and the title of a property is jeopardized or liened when you're doing that. And of course, it's only the sponsor themselves that are going to get the leverage or not get the leverage. But within the next 5 years and maybe within the next 12 months, I think 24 for sure, you will actually be able to put up your real estate security tokens, your real estate tokens as collateral as an LP, not just a GP, but as an LP, and get very aggressive same day liquidity out of that real estate without having to sell the real estate and have it be a taxable event. And so that will just expand your investment capabilities. And those of us that use debt in the real estate world and play the tax game with all of that, that will come into play and allow you to continue that diversification that Steve was talking about, just being able to get into more deals and have more flexibility and liquidity. Because as an LP, you invest into one of these things, as you probably tell your investors, and I know I do mine as a syndicator. If you think you're going to need this money within the next 5 years, don't invest with me, right? Because I don't know that can happen. Well, that's gone. Now there is a secondary marketplace. In fact, it makes it easier to raise capital as a tokenized project, because that is a reservation for some people. It's like, man, what if in 3 years or 6 years or something like that, I need this money? Well, now there's an exit strategy, and it does not need to affect the syndicator or the sponsor. They can stay in the deal and operate the deal, and an LP could trade. Or another strategy there is you probably do multiple deals. I've had investors that go strong into a deal, and then a couple of years down the road, it's nice and profitable, and I get another one that's coming up that they're interested in, but they're heavily invested in that. They could then harvest profits at that point, reinvest them, or use it for lifestyle money, emergencies, whatever the case. So it just brings that liquidity component to real estate that's long overdue as an asset class.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And for those of our listeners that are not kind of tracking along, that is really huge. And that is a reservation that we would get from potential investors. It's like, well, hey, because they're used to being able to, if you're new to syndications, like to Tyler's point, like, yeah, our typical whole part period, we're going to underwrite for 5 to 7 years. It's like, okay, it takes time to implement a game plan, an acquisition or reposition or whatever it is that we're trying to do with the asset. And so like they are considered illiquid. So the fact that you can get liquidity as an LP, let's say on the back end, that's huge. And that you can leverage it too. You get credit for it, like on your personal financial statement, and you can go get some additional, you can utilize whatever equity position that you have, like to go show to a lender. That's massive. Like that's a game changer. So I think the tokenization component and the additional doors and opportunities that unlocks is huge. Because anytime you mentioned it there, if I've got an opportunity cost, if I went heavy into a deal, and it's like, well, shoot, man, there's a new market. Hey, we can do path of progress, some kind of a other play in a different market. But yeah, I've got too much capital tied up in this deal. Okay, great. Let me see if I can't go get some leverage on my existing shares, or go ahead and maybe sell a few of those, take them off the table, reposition, and start to go into a different location, a different opportunity, different asset class, whatever. Like, and that's not something that you typically have had access to. So that's huge. I mean, I'm tracking here like as a game changer, honestly, for both for operators and for investors. So yeah, no,
Right.
yeah, very, very cool. Very cool. Well, I could honestly stay on with you and talk shop and talk benefit for a long time. And I definitely want to circle back with you here in the future. But this is a part in our show where we kind of transition into what we call our fire round, just a little bit more rapid fire Q&A. Just a little bit more fun question. Does that sound you're up for?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So first question, what is your favorite book recommendation other than for everybody that's in real estate? It's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's the Purple Bible. But if you've got, and it can be anything, it can be mindset, it can be lifestyle, it can be business, real estate. You have any go-to book recommendations?
Well, if I just pick one when it comes to the most influential book on my professional career, it's Think and Grow Rich. I mean, yes, mindset is obviously, I think, the overriding principle in their belief systems, but there are some good fundamental practical application in there as well. So I think if I was only going to do one book, then that would be the book.
Yeah, huge book. Excellent recommendation. If you guys have not checked that out, go immediately. Well, like and subscribe and give us some love here. But after that, after we finish up, go check out Think and Grow Rich if you have not read it or listened to it or any of that. It's an awesome book. All right, next question. What would you consider your superpower to be?
My superpower is going to be creative deal structure. I've just always really been able to look at all aspects of the deal and make deals happen when folks thought that there was no chance. So that can be creative seller financing, creative investment, from debt investments from LPs to equity investments, hybrids, bringing it all together. And I normally use that LLC structure to do it. So creative deal structure to make the deal work is my superpower, and why I fell in love with tokenization, all the flexibility with it.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect fit for what you're doing now. So I don't think if you could think creatively, you would have even gone into the space. So yeah, very cool. All right, next question. If you could go back in time, you got a time machine, you can go back and visit your 20-year-old self. What advice do you have for him?
Yeah, don't doubt what you have inside from visualization and aspiration level, that you really can, back to the Think and Grow Rich, you really can achieve what you think about, but what you think about matters a lot. And I would back that up with consistent action. I find that real estate and entrepreneurship, I should say, always has ups and downs. So it's really important to build consistency into what you're doing. So that belief system, just hang on. And if you are thinking about it a lot, there's a reason you're thinking about it. Go in with it and back it with consistent action, and you'll get to where you want to go.
Yeah, awesome. Excellent advice. Well, Tyler, if our listeners want to reach out, they want to learn more about you guys' platform and kind of all the things, okay, can this be a good fit for me and what we're trying to do? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, one way is the website, retokens.com. In fact, we have a free quick start guide to tokenization that they can download there. So if they're interested in learning more about real estate tokenization, go to the website, download the quick start guide. Also, we put a lot of informative videos on our YouTube channel, which is just at retokens. You can get some great videos there. And if you want to hear some insider thought, then make sure you connect with us on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Like I said, I genuinely want to circle back with you and see, okay, hey, the growth of the platform, growth of the industry, let's check in, and 6 to 12 months. I would imagine it's going to be really changing. I would imagine the amount of adoption that's going to happen is going to be huge. So yeah, excited to see what the future holds for you guys over at RE Tokens and just the future of the industry as a whole. But it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I greatly appreciate it. I know the listeners have too. And thanks for hopping on with us.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Steve, and looking forward to talking next time.
Sounds good. Aloha. Thank you. All right. Awesome conversation with Tyler Vinson. I genuinely believe this is going to be the future of the industry as we move more and more towards recording items on the blockchain, using blockchain technology, both from a security standpoint and for Tyler and his team over at RE Tokens, what they're able to do to provide liquidity on the secondary market, let's say for investors. It unlocks opportunities, guys, that you are not understanding, I don't think, fully yet. And so I think it's going to be a total game changer. And so I am excited to see the future of not only that industry, but his company as well, because I think that really does provide a ton of value. Well, guys, if we're providing value to you, again, we'd love for you to subscribe to the show, to the channel. As we continue to grow the channel, bring value, we need your support. And so we'd love the comments. Love you sharing the show, sharing the episode. So we look forward to circling back with you in the future. And if you guys want to connect with us locally, we have monthly meetups with Honolulu multifamily and more. So if you're on the island, you want to connect with some local investors, or maybe you're just visiting out here, taking a vacation, and good excuse for a vacation to Hawaii, you can come and meet us out at one of our monthly meetups. And then, yeah, we'll see you on the next episode. Go out, take some action, and we'll catch you on the next one. Aloha.